How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's Gotcake and welcome back to another Star Wars Shovelware review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Gravity Rider Zero, an on-rails physics-based racing game which originally released for smartphones in August 2019, but like many other mobile games has recently found its way to the Nintendo eShop. Now as always, give the video a thumbs up if it helps you out, and hit that subscribe button to become a Star Seeker and be notified of future Switch indie game reviews. So if you've ever played any of the Trials games that have released over the past few years, you can sort of think of Gravity Rider Zero as a poor man's equivalent. We begin the game on stage 1 and are introduced to the game's controls via 3 very simple tracks. The first teaches us how to accelerate by taking us through a half loop. The next track shows us how to balance our bike leaning forward to get up this steep hill. And the third track teaches us how to brake before we impale our face on these spikes. Following this quick introduction, we get a summary of our performance, and as is the case with every single stage in the game, for completing the track we're awarded credits, or as I like to think of them, D20s. We get some bonus D20s, firstly for beating a stage's time, and secondly for completing all 3 tracks in a stage without losing a life, which is often harder than it sounds, and we'll get on to why this is shortly. So following the completion of this first stage, we're then taken to the main menu, but first we get our XP and D20s before being shown a list of shit that we've unlocked for levelling up. Once the main menu appears, we can see our bike front and centre, and a list of stages across the bottom of the screen. There are 33 stages in total, each containing 3 races, and each is unlocked by completing the previous stage. Stages also have a star rating, with 3 stars being earned for completing all 3 previously mentioned objectives. We can also take a look through the available vehicles we can unlock. Now in the mobile version, which is free to download, almost everything is locked behind a microtransaction paywall, and the game itself is extremely stingy with rewarding D20s, wanting you to pay for most of those. But in this Switch version of the game, we can unlock bikes and other vehicles in a number of different ways. Firstly, they're unlocked by levelling up, which we do by earning XP from races. We can also buy a few vehicles with D20s, and the rest are unlocked by earning a specific number of stars by the 2 final bikes, which you can get by completing a 3 times backflip and a 3 times front flip. Now we can take a visit to the paint shop where we get to customise our ride, with each vehicle having a number of different designs available to them, many of them unique to a specific vehicle. We can also customise our trail which streams behind us during a race. There are several of these which are shared between vehicles, but like paint jobs there are also some unique to a vehicle. Now all paint jobs and trails cost D20s to unlock, and we can see at the top of the screen it says collect all paints to earn some bonus D20s. But here we hit our first stumbling block and the game's mobile roots begin to shine through, as when you actually buy all the paints and the claim button lights up, there's no way of actually clicking it. I've tried every button on the controller and I've even tried undocking the Switch to use the touchscreen, but it seems like they just forgot to implement this when they ported the game. Anyway, heading back to the main menu, we can jump into some races, and the first race of stage 2 introduces some obstacles. As we approach these bumpy moguls, we see a warning triangle, one of many pieces of signage displayed around tracks to inform us of what to expect ahead. Heading through the track, we hit a small loop, hop over a pit of lasers that fry as if we touch them, and swing round the final corner to the finish line. Track 2 introduces a few more track features, and here I pop a cheeky little backflip, which gives you a bit of a boost upon landing. As we cruise round the track, the camera follows us, panning this way and that, which I actually quite liked, but can sometimes obstruct your view of upcoming obstacles. Now as we hit the final track of stage 2, we're introduced to this space age Colonel Sanders looking fucker, who taunts you, challenging you to beat him and his crew. His codename is Mr. Red, and all his crew appear to have variations on famous sci-fi character names such as Boba, Kylo and Kirk. Genius. Pure genius. Now so far as I can tell there's basically no reason to try and beat these guys. I don't know if there was something in the mobile version of the game that meant you had to beat them to progress, but in this Switch version it doesn't matter if you come in first or last. Now another thing clearly left over from the mobile version is the inclusion of lives seen in the top right of the screen. You begin with 3 of them and lose 1 each time you crash or are hit by any of the deadly traps littered around the tracks. Once you run out of lives you're shown this screen where you can pay some D20s to get an extra life and continue racing from your last checkpoint. The number of D20s required is increased by 10 each time you lose this extra life, topping out at 50, which resets back to 10 once you start a new track. So as before, we complete this track and we get our rewards and stars, earn XP, level up and unlock more shit. And this is basically how the game progresses. Each race within a stage can be one of 3 types. Firstly, you can be racing on your own through a track, and if you play the same track again, you'll see a ghost version of yourself to show you how you're doing compared to your best track time. Secondly, you can be racing against one other NPC, and thirdly, you can be racing against Sanders and his posse. Races can also be a single leg race from a start point to an end point, or can require you to do several laps of the track. Now, so far as track layouts go, there's a decent amount of variation in both track design and aesthetics, but as you complete more and more races, you'll begin to see some segments of tracks repeated. Unlike Trials, where each track usually feels like it's been uniquely crafted by hand, tracks in Gravity Racer Zero feel more like they've been jigsawed together in different combinations. There are plenty of different obstacles and track features that make this less noticeable, and for the most part, no 2 tracks feel the same. Now, the biggest problem that I experienced as I worked my way through the game's 33 stages was the distinct lack of any real challenge. The majority of the tracks required very little thought or input from me, often requiring only micro adjustments with my thumbstick to ensure I landed properly. When I did meet an obstacle requiring some concentration, it often came so out of the blue that I'd just crash off my bike the first time that I encountered it. And that sort of sums up the majority of my gameplay experience and how you can clearly tell that it's a mobile port. With touchscreen controls on a smartphone, things often need to be simplified or they just don't work, and the inclusion of the life system is just a blatant nod to this fact. In the mobile version, you only get 1 life and have to pay for additional life boosts or watch ads. But instead of just removing this altogether, it was clearly easier just to give you 3 lives and include some insignificant cost to getting extra ones. It also seems like they forgot to change the reward amounts from the mobile version, as you often see only 50 credits being rewarded for completing some stages. And with the sheer number of unlocks in the game, it's questionable as to whether you'd actually be able to earn enough credits to unlock everything, even if you completed every bonus objective in all 33 stages. So what else is there to say about Gravity Rider Zero? Well, for a start, it's not a terrible port. The graphics don't look too bad on the Switch, though they're really nothing special, and I don't know how good they'd hold up on a 60-inch HD TV. When it comes to audio, I won't comment on music as I always mute it to record, but the sound effects in the game aren't great. A lot of the time I was playing, my vehicle made no sound, which I assumed is a bug, and the sound effects, which sounded like gravel or some sort of balls rolling, played all the time and just didn't match any terrain that you were racing on. The final thing I want to comment on is the vehicles. While the bikes and quad bikes weren't too bad to race with, others such as this hover bike were a nightmare due to the fact that they handled exactly the same, but the developers had just made the wheels invisible. This meant that you couldn't tell where they were in relation to the ground or obstacles, and it was often just a struggle to keep yourself level. So now we come to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with a shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst indie games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion of what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money for potential buyers. And for a rating, I'd give Gravity Rider Zero 2 out of 5 stars. It's not a terrible racer, and for the most part gameplay is fine, but it lacks the challenge, polish and enjoyment of a true Trials game. Its 33 stages means there's a decent amount of content, but I'm not sure as to whether you'd want to go back through them again to get any stars that you've missed, just to unlock some extra bike skins. Now I got the game from the UK Switch eStore for £1.25, but for some reason its listing's not showing online. You can also get the game from the US eStore, currently discounted to $4.89, but I certainly wouldn't pay full price for the game when you can potentially get Trials Rising when it's on sale for a few quid more. And that's it for this review of Gravity Rider Zero. Hit that like button if it helped you out, and don't forget to subscribe for future Switch indie game reviews. For now though, I want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.